and welcome. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Snehisha, and with me is Shreyansi Singh. And well, you're watching ET Now. Now, this is a show where we'll take you through all the important stories that we've been tracking for you, domestic and globally, while you've been fast asleep. And in the second half of the show, we'll take you through all the stocks that could be potential buzzers in today's trading session, as well as what the brokerages are flagging off for us bright and early this morning. So, with that, let's kickstart the show with the global handover. And Shreyansi, good morning. Take us through the moves that Wall Street saw yesterday, continuing their rally from the previous session, and the all-important Fed decision expected tonight for us. So tell us a little bit on what's predicted and what's going to happen.
Absolutely, you pretty much summed it up, right? So when you look at Wall Street, that is definitely coming off a positive session for the major benchmarks, and that's the kind of move that you're seeing this morning. So the kind of handover that I'm looking at is that the Dow, the 30 stock Dow, also advanced about 320 points, or 0.8%, notched its best day since February 22. And the S&P 500 as well rose roughly 0.6%. When you look at the Nasdaq Composite also, that added 0.4% as well. And recent weakness in tech stocks has had some investors deliberating whether the artificial intelligence rally is slowing as other parts of the market gain traction. Now on Tuesday, communication services, which includes the likes of Alphabet and Meta platforms, was the only losing sector in the S&P 500, as energy and utility stocks led the broader index. Now, some underperformance came in from the semiconductor stocks as well. So that is largely the handover that you saw. The Fed is broadly anticipated to keep interest rates unchanged at the conclusion of its two-day policy meeting. Some are concerned that a recent spate of hot inflation reports could result in even fewer cuts than markets are anticipating. When you look at European markets as well, they closed slightly higher. And after a muted session, the pan-European stock 600 provisionally finished up about 0.3% up, with sectors mixed. So auto stocks rose 1.2%, while when you look at food and beverage stocks, they were down 0.5%. When I'm looking at DAX and CAC as well, uptick coming in for both of these. So DAX was up about 0.3% and CAC up more than 0.5%. So that's the kind of handover that we're seeing this morning.
Well, absolutely. And with that, let's also take a look at what's happening in the world of oil then. And oil prices rose to multi-month highs for the second straight session on Tuesday. So oil prices have been on the tear as we speak. And traders assess how Ukraine's recent attacks on Russian refineries would affect global petroleum supplies as well. Now, Ukraine, remember, has stepped up attacks on Russian oil infrastructure this year, with at least 7 refineries targeted by drones just this month. The attacks have shut down 7%, or around 370,000 barrels per day of Russian refining capacity. This is according to Reuters calculations. And oil gained support from declining crude exports from Saudi Arabia and Iraq, as well as signs of stronger demand and economic growth in China and the US. Now, you also had another factor that was boosting the WTI, US single-family home building. That data rebounded sharply in February, the Commerce Department reported. Now, home building could boost economic growth, supporting oil demand as well. So on the back of all of these news flows, you had WTI at 83.1, so a price hike over there as well. Brent has yet again, managed to be above that $85 per barrel mark at $87.2 dollars per barrel as we speak. So, well, this uptick in oil prices continues, and Shreyansi will take a look at how that pans out for us. And staying with oil then, global energy demand will increase faster than the rate of population growth through 2050, says the CEO of Kuwait Petroleum Corporation. He also added that demand will peak this decade, which means that there is going to be a requirement of more energy intensity for the population. Meanwhile, to combat the situation in Kuwait, Petroleum Corporation plans to increase its production capacity to 4 million barrels per day by 2035 from the current 3 million barrels per day.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's actually a lot of cues that we should keep our eyes on, right? First of all, there's of course the all-important FOMC rate decision. A lot has been said about it, and it remains to be seen how that impacts our market as well as US markets as well, and let's see what that decision indicates. But from the UK, you do have CPI as well as PPI data, and in the Eurozone, you do have consumer confidence data. So keep an eye on all of those data sets along with China's loan prime rates. Now, in terms of corporate action, there's of course the last day to buy Dwarikesh Sugar for buyback, and Paisalo Digital will be trading ex-bonus in ratio 1:1. So keep an eye on those two counters as well. Now, HUDCO board will be mulling fundraise plans, and that is another counter that will remain in the spotlight. Now, the lock-in period also ends for Moti Sons Jewelers, as well as Muthoot Microfinance for 3% each. So keep an eye on both those counters as well.
Well, yes, and with that, let's kickstart this morning with some important global macro news then. And the yen tumbled to a 4-month low after the historic and widely anticipated decision to end its negative interest rate policy. While on the other side, the dollar strengthened ahead of the much-awaited rate decision from the FOMC, which is set to take place today. Analysts say that the market has taken it as a green light to increase the short yen positioning that was already in place. Now, given the forward guidance from the Bank of Japan that was fairly cautious and not enough to draw further hawkish repricing in the Japanese market rate, we also caught up with Peter Cardillo, the chief